Hi, everyone. I'm Alex Stante. Welcome back to The Quiet Part Out Loud. Today, I'm here with Tara Lockyer, Head of HR and Brand at ATB Financial, and our 2026 Calgary Influential Women in Business Award winner for Large Enterprise. Welcome, Tara. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So I'm curious. I'm just going to jump in.
Okay.
I'm so curious. You joined ATB in the middle of COVID.
I did.
So can you tell me about your journey to ATB, but what it was like joining an organization in kind of that time?
Oh gosh, my journey to ATB. So it was a bit of a roundabout journey. My family and I had been living in Asia for a few years. We came back to Toronto, realized that we probably didn't want to end days in Toronto. And we're starting to look out west for some roles. And I said, I'm done with banking. So what am I going to do out west? Well, let's work for oil and gas. Had lots of contacts there, but ATB found me. The recruitment firm said, Tara, they're different. You're going to like them. I said, okay, I'll meet with them, but I don't think it's going to work out. Met with the leadership team, just wonderful people, wonderful organization. So I did join in the midst of COVID. June 1st, 2020 was my first day. I had a little condo rented up on 16th Ave by myself. My family was still back in Toronto because the kids didn't want to come to Calgary in COVID because they couldn't meet anybody. They couldn't go to school. So they all stayed behind. And I sat in a condo by myself for a couple of months.
Wow.
And just met people virtually.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what was it like? Because you lead people, you lead culture in your role. So what was it like to enter that role in the middle of a pandemic?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like normally when you come into an organization, you come into these big groups of people, right? Big town halls, big team meetings, but I didn't have that opportunity during COVID. So I met a lot of individuals. So all day, every day, one after the other. So I feel like it probably took me a longer time to get to meet people, but those that I'd met, I'd had some nice quality time with. So it was good in that respect too.
Why does gender diversity in the workplace matter to you as a leader? And can you tell us why it is strategically important for an organization?
Yeah, I mean, I've been in human resources for a very long time. So diversity has been a topic, that's been discussed around board tables around Canada. First of all, it makes really good business sense. So we make products and services for clients. Our clients are diverse. How could we possibly make the right products and services if we didn't have people who came from those communities and understood what might be valuable? So that's one thing. I think, too, people bring their best work when they feel comfortable in an environment. So I don't know about you, but I've had many times in my career when I walked into a room and I'm the only woman. It's really hard to let your guard down.
Yeah.
So I feel the more diverse, the more representation in the room, the more comfortable people are, the more authentic they tend to be, and then they start to do their best work because they can kind of not worry about their psychological safety quite so much.
And can you give us some examples of some tangible things that ATB has done from a diversity of the workplace perspective that have worked? Something that might be interesting or new just for the audience listening?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So the first thing we did is we sort of, when we reset our purpose, powering possibility, a little brand shout out, we relooked at the values of the organization. And we had a number of ATB IDs we used to call. So we went and we really honed in on which ones were important to us. And we ended up with 4. And one of them is champions of belonging. And that was just a term that I think people really galvanized around. So that was sort of the first step, was we put a signal into the organization like, hey, this is important to us. Team member networks are a really important part of our culture. So we're up to 15 different team member networks now. So there's 5,300 team members. So great representation from across a lot of different cultures. And they bring their culture into the workplace, which is fantastic. We have great celebrations. We have different types of meals together. Last year for Black History Month, we did a fashion show.
Cool.
We got all dollied up and they called me Auntie Tara, and it was a wonderful thing. So I think think it's those really personable things that matter. And then I have a head of diversity, Roselle Gonzalez. She's just a brilliant woman. And she said, don't put targets, Tara. Just don't do it. Because we didn't want to create an environment where people thought they were in roles of responsibility and leadership because we had to hit a target. And that has meant a lot, because I think a lot of other organizations got questioned around that. And we could say, yeah, that's not us.
We've had Roselle in for a lunch.
Have
and
you? She's
amazing.
fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's so smart and so cool
So
to talk to.
smart.
She
Yeah.
must love working with her.
Yeah, and we do. I mean, lots of diversity development opportunities and mentoring. We have streams. We have an ATB 101 program. So it's our wonderful students come in and work with us for the summer. And some of those programs are demographically split. So we have an Indigenous group of students. So yeah, there's so much going on at ATB on the diversity front.
Can you tell me a little bit about how you manage pay gaps? So whether it's a gender pay gap, how do you kind of monitor and make sure that everybody is on the same page?
So ATB is not a federally regulated bank, but the banks in Canada are required to monitor pay equity. So we tend to follow those types of signals just to be fair and to show equity. So we do look at all of our data. We do it annually. We will do a total scan of our demographics to see what the pay grades are, men versus women, and really analyze if we're seeing any sort of disparate data in there. So that's one thing we do. Secondly, we do every year, we have sort of a performance review cycle. For those of you who are lucky enough to have your performance rated every year. So what that means is leaders will sit in a room and calibrate performance. And as part of that, my HR team in the back end will also do some analysis to see if they're seeing any differences in ratings as a result of gender. And then we sort of look at both data points to see if we have any pockets of concern. And if we do, we'll dig in a little deep. Sometimes the pockets of concern are just, once you get in there, you realize, oh, there is more men in this job.
Right.
And this is a job that actually has a higher salary band to it. So there could be anomalies like that. But yeah, we do a lot of different ways to test through the data and to hold our leaders accountable to make sure we're paying fairly.
And have you stumbled across any kind of patterns? Like, is it sometimes just one specific leader, or is it, like you said, sometimes there's just
I haven't seen anything attributed to a leader. Usually it's a type of role. So we have a lot of STEM-based roles in the bank, as you can imagine, in our tech shop. So we predominantly would have more men in engineering. So they skew the data a little bit, because when you look at all tech jobs, it'll look like all of a sudden that the men are making more, and then you look at and you realize it's just a concentration.
Interesting.
But
very interesting.
and if we do see anything where it's just like, there's no reason why this individual should be at this level, then we'll just correct it. Yeah.
Can you tell me about a time, an experience that accelerated your growth as a leader, and what you were forced to learn really quickly, or what kind of challenges it gave you?
Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, I did work overseas for a while. Prior to that, I've only had leadership roles in North America. And I had a mindset that leadership came with gregariousness. It came with being outspoken. It came with being the center of attention. And when I started to work, I sat in the Hong Kong office and I worked across Southeast Asia. There's a very different way of working there in some of the Asian cultures, and they're quiet leaders. And I started to, as I worked with these leaders over a period of time, started to realize some of the quietest leaders were the most reflective and thoughtful and impactful. And I don't know, I just had this switch flip in my brain to say, just because you're the one we can hear doesn't mean you're the smartest one in the room.
Yes. Don't we know that?
Don't we know that? But yeah. And so it's just changed. It's just changed how I lead in a room to make sure I'm hearing all the voices around the table. And if I'm not, I have some little, tricks and tips to make sure I'm getting those voices out. And just being mindful. Reflection isn't a hindrance. Reflective people are thoughtful. Quick wit doesn't necessarily mean best idea. So that's kind of changed full stop how I think what great leadership is
And how do you manage that reflection? Like, do you block time in your day? Is it something you've built into the function of your work?
It's more so about how I work with others than it is how I work with me. I'm not super reflective. I appreciate it in others, and I feel like I was losing the opportunity to hear reflective people. So now I'll do things like if I'm in a room and there's 10 people, I will say, oh, I haven't heard from you. Is there anything? I've been doing lots of team meetings lately, and I say, oh, I know this isn't it for everybody. I know not all of you want to have me in the room and tell me your deep, dark secrets. Tell me after. Like if there's something you meant to say, you didn't get to it, or just upon reflection, those thoughts that come after are so on point sometimes. So it's just how do I get the reflective people, the people that are more quiet, and because they're so busy listening while the rest of us are talking. So how do I make sure that I'm getting the good out of their style?
You are being recognized at the CIWB Awards, not just for your personal success, but for the impact that you've had on ATB and in your career. Is there anything that stands out that might not make it to your bio or that was maybe not in your nomination package that you are really proud of in your career?
Yeah, I don't know if I can say that. I'm like a queen maker. That's what I'm known for, and I'm really darn proud of it. So I've had a lot of women championing me in my career, and I make it a point to champion other women. So you'll see through the data where people really grow and move fast. They're like, oh, they've worked for Tara at some point. Because I profile them, I champion women, I totally exploit their spikes of expertise. If I find someone in my team or in the organization that's just amazing at something, I exploit it. I put them on a pedestal. I let the whole world see it and let them just play from their strengths. So that, honestly, that makes me proud when I look around the room and I said, hired them, promoted them. That's kind of, that's not in my bio.
No.
I'm not sure the men would like it.
You've kind of curated this group of highly talented
women.
What is a leadership lesson you had to learn the hard way, and how did you kind of stumble over it and then move through?
Oh, there's a lot of those. Leadership, the hardest ones. The hardest ones are the ones that you don't make. So my biggest leadership lesson is taking too much time to make a call. Something's not going right. Someone's not a good fit. And you let those fester for a while. I always give this advice to other people. If you think something's not working, it's not working.
Right.
2 months from now, it's still not going to be working. So I think my biggest leadership lesson is to move faster when my gut is telling me it's a poor fit or, it's not the right focus. Just move fast. And it's amazing how instantly you just feel it come off your shoulders too once you've made the call because you knew it all along.
I've heard that a lot lately. That's really interesting. And how do you manage? I mean, financial services is still a very male-dominated industry.
Not at ATB.
Not at ATB.
There's
not
lots
at
of
ATB.
No,
that's why you're here.
Absolute parity. Absolute parity. Yep.
How do you manage the rooms where you are, the only woman or the one of two women? How do you kind of navigate the bias that kind of exists in those spaces, and how do you kind of stand your
ground? It's interesting, and I've probably changed my stance on this over the years. Probably earlier in my career, there was this concept of an alpha female, which is where you act like a guy to fit in with the guys. And that worked, I think, back, in the early 90s, and you're in that environment. You just didn't stand out. You just kind of blended in, and you became probably a little bit more assertive, a little bit more outgoing and gregarious. And again, all those things that I thought you had to be a good leader. And now it's an appreciation of what women can bring to the room that's completely different. Listening, reframing, diverse points of view,
Mm-hmm.
and just the willingness to lean in with a different perspective. So holding the room for me now is just having my piece said, whether it's in line with what's everyone else is saying or not. I think I owe the diverse perspective.
And what hope do you have for the future? What are you seeing with the new generation coming into the workplace? And what are you observing that makes you hopeful about work and business in Calgary in the future?
Yeah. So what makes me hopeful is the younger generation coming in have no idea that that's been a thing.
Mm-hmm.
They just come in and have an expectation of being treated the same, or not the same, because that doesn't make the same at all, but fairly,
Yeah.
equitably. To them, that was just an experience they haven't had through academia or life in general. So I think they're going to come into the workforce and expect that out of their leaders.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my hope. My hope is they're going to show the way.
And what about I'm going to go off track a little bit, but just on the topic of new generations
Sure.
and different ways of working, the future of work.
Yeah.
How are you seeing leadership adapt to that? What are the skills that leaders now need to have with hybrid and remote work?
Yeah, it's so funny. We'll complain, I'll fall into the woe is me trap every once in a while too with the next gen.
Yeah.
It's different. It's a different leadership style. It's a different work style. It's very fluid.
Mm-hmm.
So when I started in the workforce, you started at 9, you came in at 8, you're supposed to leave at 4, you stayed to 5, nobody left before the boss did. You did what you were told. It's very hierarchical. That's not what they want. That's not what I want either.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually kind of cool because we're seeing the other demographic groups would prefer some of this fluidity and flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
So that's great. Yeah. And work is so hard now. It used to be you learned a job and the best person then got to lead the other peoples that aren't doing that job. I don't know a fraction of what my team does. You could put me in 10 jobs on my team and I couldn't do it. I don't know.
Yeah.
So leadership isn't about telling other people how to do the job better because I actually don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Leadership's now about me creating the environment for them to do the work that only they know how to do. And I actually think the next generation is suited for it.
Mm-hmm.
They're curious. They're a little bit more bold, potentially. They kind of ask for what they want.
Yeah.
High learning quotient. So it's different, but it's really cool.
That's a really interesting perspective about, how things have changed, right? We also don't stay in one job forever.
Right. Well, nobody stays in one job forever, right? They'll say, I don't stay in jobs forever either. I'm a good decade and that's long now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll talk to my colleagues and they'll say, oh, they've only been here for 2 years. I'm like, great. Was it a good 2 years?
Mm-hmm.
Did we get their best for those 2 years? Why would we hold them back from something great?
Yeah.
They'll come back if, there's something else a few years down the road. And they'll pick up different experiences. I find them very open and curious and, a bit more risk-taking.
Yeah.
Than I think the generations before.
Well,
it's because they're all living at home, by the way, because nobody can afford a mortgage.
Because nobody can buy their own house now.
Take a lot of risks. Yeah.
Well, thank you for being here with me today. Congrats on your win. And we'll see you at the gala. And we love having ATB's support of Access. So
I love Access. So
thank you so much.
Yeah, happy to be here.
The Quiet Part Out Loud is produced by Access Connects and brought to you by Oh wait, is there a sponsorship opportunity there? Learn more at accessconnects.com.